anger as grief's dirty little secret. We often know that anger is a normal process of grief, but anger is not really easy to deal with, and it is not something that just goes away with time. Anger is like a fire. It is, the more you feed it, the bigger it gets, the more it impacts you, impacts your thoughts, your emotions, and how you feel, and how you are processing your grief. When I think about anger, the first thing that comes to my mind is a psychological research fact of anger is a secondary emotion, meaning it is a protective factor. It is over something else. There's something underneath there, and it's a type of pain. When I go through the Mentally Strong method, I am helping people and myself separate their grief from the injustices, from the spiritual conflict, from the fear, from the negative self-talk. Anger is a protective factor for all of those things. And I've had many people say to me, well, there's righteous anger. Then yes, that's true. There is righteous anger. If you have lost a loved one, you have every right to be angry. But what I'm saying is that there is a pain, there is an emotion underneath that. And when we think of righteous anger, it's really an injustice. Something unfair has happened to you. And I'm going to actually go through, just for myself, how I process and deal with anger. Here's a video clip of me punching a punching bag and trying to physically get out that anger. Sometimes I do it through yoga. Today, I want to show you just how I do it through burning, taking the anger and trying to release it through fire. But my point is that it needs to be separated and released, right? So, for example, yesterday I got a call that someone I love has breast cancer. And the shock of that always has grief associated with it. But my first was anger, because like me, this person has already been through enough hardship for any one person. It's not fair that she also has to do this. She also has to now fight for herself. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Cristi Bundukamara. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner, but I have been through some hardship. I lost a son in 2005, and then I lost another son in 2016, and I thought for sure God would not take another child. And sure enough, in 2021, my daughter died in her sleep. So you can imagine, I have to deal with anger. But what is that anger? It's injustice. How can so much happen to one person? It's just not fair. For me, it's a huge spiritual conflict. I have wrestled with seriously being angry at God. And so when I talk about these secondary emotions, I encourage you to do some sort of practice like this. I separate things into separate 3x5 cards. As you saw in the punching bag, I did it on little Post-it notes. Because when it comes to grief, the pain of grief is to be cherished and held tightly. But the trauma associated with that grief needs to be let go. The anger associated with that grief needs to be let go. The injustice, the part you can't control, needs to be let go. And there's other things that I'm angry about. When I put this down and I did the different things, behaviors and choices is also something you could be angry at. You could be angry at yourself for maybe a choice that you made. And part of that forgiveness of yourself is letting go of that anger. You could be angry at someone else. Maybe your loved one died at the hands of a violent act or a drunk driver. You have every right to be angry at that person, but not figuring out how to organize it and let some of that go. And one little burn doesn't let it all go. But I can tell you it actually feels good. Now, if you do this, please make sure you do it safely. I've been pretty angry at God. It's taken me a lot of work, but I have been able to work through a lot of that anger. And so that burn was a reminder that I've done a lot of work in my spiritual conflict. But this news that I just got yesterday of someone I love having breast cancer, and it not being the first hardship, and that she has had to deal with cancer in her child, and the long-term effects of the chemo on her child. And now cancer comes up in her. And what makes me even more angry is the more I learn that what impact stress has on the body, and how stress and the emotions that we hold on to can impact us health-wise. Like, they can actually contribute to cancer. And it's like, but that's not fair. I've tried my hardest to appropriately handle my stress. This person who was just diagnosed with cancer, she has tried her hardest to appropriately deal with her stress. She runs, that's her outlet. She knows that she's releasing that way. She eats healthy. She does all the right things. And she still got diagnosed with cancer. So unfair. And I'm mad. I'm mad that she has to deal with this. And this is why this is important, to put different concepts, different feelings on different little cards, Post-its, whatever. In the Mentally Strong method, we put them in these different categories. But I made a card for the spiritual conflict, which I've worked through a lot of that. And it always comes down to the fear that manifestation and prayer doesn't work. Like, every part of me wanted to tell my friend that I'm praying for her. And it honestly makes me angry because I'm not sure that prayer works. But on the other side of that, I know that there is a universal power I call God, and that there is an eternity, and that has been confirmed with my relationship with my children. And so I just wrote down a few of my manifestations that I work on. I want to feel good. I intend to feel good. I want to help people. I intend to help people. And just working on my trust of that. And so instead of burning that, I put it in my journal, and I reflect on it. And my journal has like all of my positive self-talk, the things I'm trying to manifest. Just this journal is reserved for positive. I don't write anything negative in this journal. And I'm just going to put this in here as a reminder to come up with some positive statements around that negativity. And then I wrote on a separate card, the pain of grief is to be cherished. And that sounds counterintuitive. But I wrote down, I miss you, Maya, Reggie, Bundy, Johnny. And I also wrote down a reminder of what Reggie said to me after his death. He said, I'm okay. Maya's okay. Daddy's okay. And this was before Maya and Bundy passed away. But it's still painful. But I need to cherish this. And so today I'm going to take this little card, and I'm going to fold it up, and I am going to put it in my pocket, and I'm going to carry it around today because I miss them. I miss my children. I miss my husband. I miss what I wanted for my family. There's just so much grief. So these are some ways that I personally work through anger. The lesson here today is that anger is a secondary emotion. I encourage you to dig deep and figure out what's underneath that, organize that so that you can choose joy and happiness. Those are real things. Those are real choices. If you want more information on how I help people through intense grief, traumatic grief, I have a grief intensive coming up. Give us your information in the link below, and we will follow up with you. We can do this.